Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Rune Words. So today I'd like to go over a rather simple rune word. It's called smoke. I have covered this one time before in a rather large video encompassing a rather large number of rune words, but I wanted to do the rune words individually. And I feel like smoke is one of those rune words which does require a little bit of attention. Now, smoke is a very interesting rune word, specifically because it has a massive amount of resistances on it for basically nothing. Lum runes are not hard to come by, and 50 to all resistances is just an amazing amount of resistances for an armor, especially when it's only 2 runes, and those runes are easy to come by. So we're going to take a look at the stats on this armor real quick, and as you can see, the rune word is Nef and Lum. And Lum is only a level 37 requirement, so the rune word is actually fairly low. It has a 75% enhanced defense, so whatever you put it in is going to get a little bit more defense. 280 defense versus missile, which at level 37 can help you out a little bit versus those evil fire archers. All resistances plus 50 is absolutely amazing for level 37 and is going to fix a lot of resistance problems for a lot of characters until you can find yourself some better equipment. Are there better pieces of equipment than a smoke? Definitely. But early on, it can definitely be that piece of armor which can either help you or your mercenary, believe it or not, and keep them alive. Because until your mercenary levels up, he's not going to have max resistances. When your mercenary gets to about level 90, he will have max resistances, I think, on his own. But until then, he usually needs some sort of plus to resistances to help him out. It also has 20% faster hit recovery on it, which is definitely nice to have on an armor. The level 6 weaken charges may not be the absolute grandest, but it does reduce the damage of monsters if you want to play around with it. Plus 10 to energy, which is going to give you a little bit of mana, and then of course it gives you the -1 light radius. The main benefit of smoke is that it's low level, it can be used in just about any armor, and it can be used on your character if you specifically need those resistances, and it can also be used on your mercenary if your mercenary needs some extra resistances. The ability for smoke to just simply solve your resistance problems for a little while is definitely one of the more interesting benefits of the armor. As you can see, without smoke on, I'm running 17%, 25%, 53, and 7. And with smoke on, I'm running 67, 75, 75, and 57. And this is in Nightmare difficulty. Of course, I'm going to need more resistances for Hell difficulty, but it's still a very sweet armor indeed. And if you could manage to find a decent Ethereal armor, you can put a smoke in the Ethereal armor, and you can even make the Mercenary have a fairly nice armor as well. I'm pretty sure one of my mercenaries is wearing a fairly decent Ethereal smoke, which I made specifically for mercenaries. I believe it's on the Jouster. I believe it's the Jouster. Yep, here it is on my Jouster. And as you can see, it is in a bone weave armor, so it is a ethereal bone weave, which has fairly nice defense. And I went ahead and just threw NefLum in there for a cheap, very cheap armor for a mercenary. As you can imagine, 20% fast hit recovery definitely helps your mercenary, because mercenaries tend to have absolutely awful fast hit recovery. So any fast hit recovery you can give them will increase their survivability massively. It has the 75% defense, so as you can see, as an Ethereal, it's running 1,202 defense, which is a rather large amount of defense at level 47. If you can find an Ethereal 2-socket armor and throw a NefLum in there, that is absolutely an amazing level 47 armor that is relatively cheap because Lum runes are not that hard to come by. You can get plus 10 to all energy, which does absolutely nothing for your mercenary. The all resistances 50, however, does do an absolutely large amount for your mercenary in Hell difficulty. You'll notice that in Nightmare difficulty, he's capped without any all resistances. So he doesn't need the smoke armor in normal or Nightmare, but if you take him into Hell difficulty, and let me make a Hell difficulty game real quick, and we'll take a look. You'll notice that 50 all res actually does come in handy for him, because without the armor, he's running 37, 37, 37. And he's getting a little bit of fire resistance from the helmet. But he goes from 1,308 defense to 2,510 defense, so a rather large bonus for a rather low-level item. Now, granted, when you level up your mercenary to a higher level, you're certainly going to want to give him a better piece of armor than a smoke. But once he starts to get to a higher level, he won't need those resistances anyway. He gets a small amount of resistances every time he levels, and like I said, by the time he gets to around level 90, he tends not to need very much resistances from armor anymore. So again, a smoke is a great low-level mercenary armor because that is when your mercenary needs the resistances the most. But as he levels up and as he becomes a higher level, a higher level mercenary, he will not need those resistances as much. And to give you an example of that, let me go and take a look at my Necromancer's mercenary, which is a level, should be level 90, I believe. And we'll take a look at him inside of a Hell game. So my Necromancer's mercenary is actually rocking some pretty beast gear, but if I take off his equipment that has resistances on it, you will see that at level 90 he is already rocking 54%, 54%, and 54% of all his resistances. And with just any type of plus resistances at all, he is hitting the cap, because to get from 54% to 75% is only 20%. So he only really needs 20 to all resistances at level 90, and once he gets higher than that, he gets to the point where he will no longer need resistances at all. So the smoke armor kind of becomes moot, especially when you can provide him resistances in other forms, like for instance a Fade proc or a Tomb Reaver Cryptic Axe, which has plus 46 to all resistances. Now keep in mind though that having a little bit more than the cap is good, because when you run into monsters who are capable of reducing those resistances, like for instance when you go to Chaos Sanctuary, there are monsters which will cast lower resist on you, and lower resist will bring down his resistances by a pretty massive margin. So if he is protected from those resistances by having a more than the cap allows, he will be able to keep his 75%. And there's really no way to show you that specifically. You kind of have to just see it in action. So when you are in the process of actually like running through Chaos Sanctuary and you see the lower resist curse appear above someone's head, which I actually do have a head with lower resist on it. So let me grab that real quick, and we'll curse something real quick so you can see what lower resist looks like. When you have lower resist proc on your mercenary, it's going to make him extremely weak to pretty much any elemental damage. And lower resist looks like this. It's little purple, wispy, sort of like popping little things, and it definitely makes the mercenary much weaker to resistances. Just in general. And as you can see, my mercenary is pretty much just ripping through things. So he's level 90. He's doing just fine. Anyway, I hope that I have given you some perspective on the Smoke rune word and whether or not it is the right rune word for you specifically to use either on your character or on your mercenary. And as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching these videos, and keep watching.